There are three different ways to call the function, that is call, apply and bind. In this lecture, we are going to learn call, and in the further lectures, we have to see apply and bind also. And we must clearly know the difference between call, apply and bind. So in this lecture, let's focus on call. So what is this call and what is the purpose of that? For example, there is an object and there is a function. By default, whenever we use the this keyword inside the function, it doesn't refer to the object. Because this is an individual function, by default this keyword inside the function refers to global empty object but not to your own object. For example, you have created a customer object and you would like to supply that customer object as this keyword in this function. For that case, exactly, you will use call. So there is a function, for example, do work. There is an object, suppose customer object. You would like to supply that customer object as this keyword in this do work function. Then you will be writing your function name, that is do work. So do work.call. Then you will mention your customer object. So this object will be supplied as this keyword into that function. And also additionally, you can supply additional argument values. Those arguments will be assigned into respective parameters normally. So the main intention of using this call function is you would like to supply your own object as this keyword in that function. Otherwise, you can call the function normally and supply the argument values for those parameters as usual, right? So the only benefit of using this function is you would like to run that function immediately and supply your own object as this keyword in that function. Otherwise, in case if you call the function regularly, then the this keyword in that function refers to global empty object but not to your customer object. So you will use this call function whenever you find a function that manipulates the data of a particular object. But in case if that function don't have access to the particular object, then we have to supply that object reference explicitly. Then you will be using this call function. See, there is no problem with methods of objects because methods of an object by default has access to current object by using this keyword, right? But if the function is not a method, if it is present outside the object but wants to access the object, in that case, use the call function. So let us understand this with an example. Let's create a file that is call.js. For example, there is an object that contains details about the person. Remember, the person is an object here. So the person details, for example, age, let's say 20. So this is an object. I would like to store this object reference in a variable. Let's say person is the name of the variable. So you can access that object by using console.log. So as you can see, we are getting that object as expected. In case if you wish to access the age only, then you will be writing age. So straight away you can access that age value directly, that is 20. But now I would like to increase the age by using a method. See, try to understand the exact purpose of the methods. Methods are meant for manipulating the objects. So, for example, in this object, let's try to create a method that is, for example, birthday. So, whenever there is a birthday of the person, the age must be increased, right? So, in this function, Let's try to access the current object by using this keyword. And I would like to increase the value of the age, right? So we can write like age ++. So by default, the age of the person is 20. But now I would like to call the birthday. So person.birthday. This function doesn't return any value, but just increases the value of the age property of the current object. So this current object is being accessed by using this keyword. It is the default right or advantage for the method that every method can access the current object by default by using this keyword. So that is the reason, without hesitation, the method can manipulate any data of the current object. So in that way, this method manipulates the age property, that is, it just increases the value. So by this time, the age property would have been 21. So after that, we are trying to print the updated age value. So we are expecting 21 in this case. So as you can see, we are getting 21 after executing that birthday method. In case if this function is present outside the object, in that case, how do you access that person object? See, as of now, this function is just independent function. It is no more a part of the object. Let me store that function reference in a variable, let's say birthday. So for this independent function, I would like to supply the reference to the current object so that it can access the current object by using this keyword. For that case, exactly we have to use the call. Actually, without using the call also, you can supply the reference of the person object to that function. See, while invoking that birthday function, let me supply a reference that is person. So we are supplying the reference of the object and we are receiving the same here. Let's say variable name is P. So from here, we are trying to supply the reference of the person object into this variable called P, which is also called as parameter variable. And then instead of using this, we can use P. So we can write like p.age. Here P is the reference variable that accesses the same object. Both person and P both access the same object. That's why the age property of the object getting increased here. So we will get the same output here. We have to call the function independently, right? Because the birthday is an independent function, it is not a method of the object. So we have to just call it directly like this. So this is an alternative way. Instead of using call, we can try to supply the reference of the object and we can receive the object reference in this parameter. So in this case also we are getting the same expected output. But I would like to achieve the same thing in a better and a simpler way by using the call method, which is a predefined method in JavaScript. So instead of explicitly passing this person, we can try like birthday.call and then we can say person. That means we are supplying the reference of the person object as this keyword instead of an explicit parameter. So we need not receive that person object explicitly here. Directly and simply we can use this keyword to access the person object. But you can supply only one object as this keyword, because this keyword can refers to only one object at a time, right? So we can supply only one object here. Whichever the object you supply in this call function that will be accessible as this keyword in this function. So in that way, we must get same output in this case also. See, we are getting the same output here. So we have two options, whether you explicitly supply the reference of the person object and receive the same as a parameter like this. This is one way, but the better way than this is use the call function and supply the reference of the person object, and you need not receive that object reference explicitly, but that happens implicitly. So by default, this keyword in this function refers to the person object. But this keyword that is present inside the function only will access the person object. In case if you are using this keyword outside the function, that will access the global empty object as we have understood earlier. That is not affected here. So only this keyword of this function only can access to the object that is mentioned here. Alright, what if you would like to supply additional parameters? For example, instead of just incrementing 1, I would like to increase 2 or 3. So I can receive an additional parameter called years, and I would like to increase the age value by years. So age plus equal to years. So in case of call, we can supply this keyword object, that is person object, and after that you can try writing any number of parameters that you want to supply, and that can be received in this function. For example, the function receives A, B, C like this, multiple parameters, and you can supply values for those parameters like this. So in this case, the person object will be referenced to this keyword, and this 10 will be assigned into A, and then 20, 30, 40 will be assigned into B, C, D respectively. Of course, in this case we are receiving only one argument, that is years. And let me supply the value for the same, let's say 3 years. That means age must be increased by 3, so it must be 23 here. Let's check it out. Yes, we are getting the same output here. So initially it is 20 as initialized earlier, and next time we are supplying the person object as reference to this keyword of the function. So in this case, we are supplying the reference of the person object as this keyword in this function, and at the same time we are supplying some additional value, that is 3, for this parameter. So in the real world applications, whenever there is a function outside the object but wants to access an object through this keyword, in that case use this call method.